Hey there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back. CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black. The Eye on College Basketball podcast is presented by Jersey Mike's, a sub above. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to that like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. Let's start in the West Coast Conference, where the Kings are the Kings once again. Final score, Gonzaga 58, St. Mary's 51. You could probably tell just by those numbers that it wasn't the most beautiful game in the history of the sport. Or even on Tuesday on one of ESPN's channels. The two teams combined to go 1 of 31 from three. But Gonzaga did get the one. Give them credit. They got the one. So the Zags beat the Gales by 7. And not to suggest it was ever in real doubt, because I don't think it was, but it should be noted, Gonzaga has now officially punched a ticket to its 26th straight NCAA tournament. Congratulations to the West Coast Kings.
I think we had this one on the Tuesday CBS Sports Network edition of the pod, right? We both had Gonzaga.
Nailed it like always. Hashtag expert picks. Hashtag expert picks.
You lose.
And I lose too.
You lose.
Yeah, we had St. Mary's. First of all, we're all the way back on a number of levels here. One, I made the mistake of tweeting out late last night after I got back from St. Francis. We'll get to that before the end of the show, no doubt. I was able to get home in time, write my story, and catch much of the second half of St. Mary's Gonzaga, and it was close. And I had no idea what had gone down in the first half. But they win 58-51. And I said, Gonzaga is going to be a top 10 team with a 7 or 8 seed on Selection Sunday. And I think a 7's likely. 6 is possible. I want to get to that too. And then we were right back where we've been, baby, for the past 15 years on Twitter. People arguing about how much Gonzaga sucks. We are all the way back, baby. We are all the way back. It is going to be pretty damn interesting here because Gonzaga won. It beat St. Mary's. It was favored to win. It is this morning. It is sitting all the way up there at number 9 at Ken Pom. And the win, they got it done. It was gutty. I texted Few late last night before I went to bed. I was like, same old Zags, huh? And I woke up to a text from, 3:45 Eastern, just being like, yep, guys are really starting to figure it out. I guess so, but not from the 3-point line. So they win ugly, which I think there actually is something to be said for that. They're still a metrics darling, but they're going to be seated much lower than where they should be. Now, we've had this in the past, GP. We've seen it with Wichita State. We saw it a few years. Remember when we harped on the Loyola Chicago situation and said it would be unfair to a 1 or 2 seed, and lo and behold, that it happened to Illinois in the bubble tournament. Let's just go a little bit further on the conversation we had on Tuesday, because I thought about it. I personally, if the committee gets to a point where they're going through the seeding and Gonzaga, let's say it's on the 7 line, that's just where it shakes out. Personally, I really don't have an issue if the folks in that room take a look and say, okay, Gonzaga is 10-8 in quad 1 and quad 2. They have wins over, let's just say, Baylor, San Diego State, Indiana. They're all in the field. St. Mary's. So 4 wins over tournament teams. One of them safely, easily in the field with St. Mary's. The other ones, I think, will get in with some breathing room probably, but they're closer to double-digit C than not, right? But they say this team is 8th at Torvik. It's 9th at Ken Pom. It's 9th in BPI. It's 8th in the net, which is also a predictive metric. Are we sure we shouldn't, out of consideration for competitive balance in this bracket, should we not put this team maybe 1 seed line higher than where we have them right now? I would not. Ken Pomeroy's written about this. He did a video hit with Andy Katz earlier this season as they were talking about the selection committee. Pomeroy, whose site is obviously predictive metrics and all that, he very much believes that resume-based metrics and what you've achieved should win out for selection and largely for seeding. But I think in rare cases like this, I personally would not have an issue if you bump Gonzaga 1 or 2 seed lines to better balance the bracket. But if you want to make the case that, no, the resume is what it is, and if they're awesome at killing other teams, well, then you know what? They're going to play a really, really good team that's potentially, say, if they're a 7, that's going to be a 2 seed in the second round. And if they're that good, they'll prove it. Where do you land on this?
I don't feel strongly in either direction. I think I've flip-flopped on this over the years. I remember arguing in favor of Wichita State, which I think at some point had strong computer numbers, but maybe not the strongest resume given their conference affiliation. I obviously you listen to this podcast enough, or just look at the top 25 and one. I am largely committed to resume based stuff. I don't want to say I don't care how you win, but the thing I care most about is whether you win or lose, not how you did it, not how efficient you were while doing it, not whether you won the game by 25 or 3. I like wins and losses, and that's what should matter most. I do understand the idea behind, okay, Gonzaga doesn't have the resume that a typical 5 seed might have or 4 seed might have, but all of these numbers that we universally respect suggest that this team is much better than its resume indicates. And this isn't just about being fair to Gonzaga. It's about being fair to the rest of the bracket, the higher seeded teams in that region. We could, based on resume, place them as an 8 seed or whatever. I'm just making up numbers now. And we could justify it. But at the end of the day, are we being fair to the 1 seed that's probably going to have to play them in the round of 32? Like, I understand every bit of that. I lean toward mostly your resume is your resume. You'll be seated accordingly. But I get the counter arguments. They sometimes I get to a point where I can say, I hear your counter argument, but it's silly to me. The counter argument to this one is sensible. I understand it.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing as hell to see where Gonzaga lands. My guess is it will be a 7. If it was a 6, you wouldn't hear a complaint from me. It wouldn't even necessarily stun me if the committee actually said, okay, they're the final 6 and here's how we got there. A 5 would surprise me. It wouldn't bother me if they put him on the 5. I don't think that will happen. To be clear, I don't think that's going to happen. I think a 6 is conceivable, but 7's the most likely outcome. And we talked about this on the Tuesday show, so we don't need to go back into it. But just a reminder, if you haven't gotten to it, if Auburn doesn't win the SEC tournament and Duke winds up with the number 1 seed as a result of winning the ACC tournament, this same logic would apply to Duke, because Duke is not going to have the best overall resume, most likely, but it will be number 1 in the predictives, like across the board. And so if the committee were to do that and apply that thinking there, just be interested to see if it remains consistent with Gonzaga. By the way, as a result of Gonzaga beating St. Mary's in the title game, St. Mary's still has not swept Gonzaga since the late 90s, 3 times in a season, that is, not just 2, but 3 times in a season, which isn't any huge surprise, obviously, but that was also notable in the Zags getting a win. So we talked plenty about the Zags also on the Tuesday show leading into it, so if you're catching up, listen, this is the Bulldogs kind of year. Current poll question right now for our audience is, will Gonzaga make a 10th consecutive Sweet 16? We both said on the Tuesday show, no, just because it beat St. Mary's. Listen, I'm willing and ready to be wrong again. I'll still stick with no, but it is damn intriguing here to see Gonzaga get itself together, get another WCC tournament championship. I think that is 20 out of 25 times that few's been there where they've won the actual WCC tournament crown, which is, of course, absurd. And yeah, Bulldogs fans, good on you guys. I know you're psyched, you're pumped, and now your team has the advantage, if you want to view it that way, of getting to rest longer than literally every other high major level team in the country, because Gonzaga's done kicking back and waiting for Selection Sunday and seeing where it plays either next Thursday or Friday, whereas everyone else that's going to be in the field gets going today and tomorrow.
Real quick on this, and then we'll move on, because we have a lot of stuff to get to, and we are on a clock today. I got a whole nother show to do, and then a flight to catch. A lot going on. We've talked about it for years. We'll continue to talk about it as long as it's active, but I don't think we should ever just pass through it real quickly. 26 straight NCAA tournaments for anybody is outrageous. For this school is unimaginable. Like, quite literally unimaginable at one point in my lifetime. A history lesson. And I just love that I have this story. It's November 1998. I am a senior in college at the University of Memphis. And this school called Gonzaga comes in to play the Tigers at the Pyramid, which is now a Bass Pro Shop.
Yes, it is.
I don't remember recognizing the name Gonzaga. I don't remember knowing what that was. Like that, I'm a lifelong college basketball fan. And the day before the game, if you'd have said, what is Gonzaga? I don't know that I would have known. Perhaps because it was a small school.
Not even with Stockton?
I don't know that I would have known.
Okay.
Do you realize in November 1998, we're talking about a school that had never won a game in the NCAA tournament?
Yep.
All right. Never won a game in the NCAA tournament. I don't know that I would have known what it was. I remember subsequently for the commercial appeal, either as an intern or a young reporter, writing NCAA tournament capsules and getting a correction letter from a Gonzaga fan saying, hey, we're the Gonzaga Bulldogs or the Zags, but we're never the Gonzaga Zags. Like, don't do that.
Oh,
like,
you did that. How dare you? You called them the Gonzaga Zags. Okay.
I must have. I just remember that being something I had to address.
Yeah.
This is how unfamiliar this thing was. So it's November 98. I don't remember recognizing the school at all. And they come into the Pyramid and they beat Memphis by 15. Just ran them off the court. 4 months later, they beat Minnesota to win their first NCAA tournament game in school history. Then they beat Stanford to go to the Sweet 16. Beat Florida to go to the Elite Eight. And you ready for this? That school has never missed the NCAA tournament since then. That's insane. Absolutely insane. But it is something that happened. Starts with Dan Munson. Has continued incredibly with Mark Few. And it's one of the best stories going in college basketball. And it's a story that's been going for nearly 3 decades. Outrageous.
Yeah, let's move on. But it would be like, I'm just scrolling through. It would be like Marist right now making the NCAA tournament in 2025 and us looking up in 2052, and they've never missed it since and made a couple of title games. Like it is right. Really about on that level. It's just we take it for granted because it's an annual thing, but it is it's incredible what they've built there.
It's absolutely incredible what has been built and maintained. And I think Mark would be the first one to tell you this. Not this part. I'll tell you this part. He deserves the most credit. He deserves the most. All right. But I think Mark would tell you this part. He as great as he is, he couldn't do it without the administration committing to wanting to do this. They had to decide a long time ago, we want to be a basketball power. We don't want to lose another coach to a power conference. We don't want to have what represents typical West Coast Conference facilities. We're just going to operate on another level and try to be something that nothing really tangible suggests we should be able to be. But let's see how it goes. And it has gone amazingly well. Again, 26 straight NCAA tournaments. I don't know that we'll ever see anything like this again in college basketball, but we're witnessing it right now. Up next, we're going to play Stay or Hit. It's brought to you by Chumba Casino. Oh, man, it's my favorite game. It goes so smoothly every time. I think this one will go smoothly. I think this one's going to go real smooth. We'll see. First, though, let's get a word from our partners.
Dive into the biggest moments from the big dance with NCAA March Madness Bracket Breakdown. Sunday on CBS Sports Network.
All right. Now it's time for the Stay or Hit segment brought to you by Chumba Casino. Whether you're chilling at home or on the move, play for the chance to redeem some serious prizes with Chumba Casino. Norlander, today, we're playing Stay or Hit Indiana coaching candidates. Let's start with Greg McDermott. And let me start by asking you this. Okay. Do you believe that Creighton's coach is a legitimate candidate at Indiana?
Yes. Question mark. I think that he is probably and has probably been under consideration from Indiana's athletic director, Scott Dolson, whether or not McDermott would be willing and wanting to, he's 60, to leave a very good situation at Creighton and choose to coach for 5 to 7 years in Bloomington. That I'm a little hesitant on. I'd have to see on that. He's got really good support, generally speaking. But anyway, to your question, and for the purposes of Stay or Hit, I'll say yes.
Presented by Chumba Casino. I agree. He's a legitimate candidate. I suggest you do whatever you want, right? I suggest you do whatever you want.
You tell Greg McDermott right now how to live his life. You do it right now.
That is my approach as an adult to other adults. I tell them to do whatever they want. Talk about it with people who matter to you most, and then do whatever you want. But you know what I think I would do? Oh, buddy, I'd get the best contract extension I could get. I think I'd get the best contract extension I could get. Now it's time to play Stay or Hit. Next Indiana coach. I'm going to name coaches. You tell me which one you think is more likely to end up as the Hoosiers' next coach. Do you want to stay on Greg McDermott, or do you want to hit and get Northwestern's Chris Collins?
Well, what's with
Whoa. You're a terrible button pusher. I don't know if you know that about yourself. I don't know if you know that about yourself. You ever meet somebody
top rope.
You ever meet somebody, somebody, and you're like, man, they don't know this about themselves. You might be thinking of me right now. Okay? You might be thinking of me right now. But I don't think you know this about yourself, but you're a terrible button pusher.
I wouldn't say terrible. Have I messed up 2 weeks in a row? Sure. Anyway, to the question.
I'll stay.
I think that McDermott would be a more likely guy to be at Indiana than Chris Collins.
Okay. Do you want to stay on Greg McDermott or hit and get Clemson's Brad Brownell?
I suggest you hit, sir.
Now, I don't think Brad Brownell is going to leave Clemson and be the guy that's plucked at Indiana. But I think if you made me pick between which of the two was more likely to wind up happening, I would say Brownell.
That would be my favorite. From the forever hot seat to Indiana's coach would be my favorite thing ever.
I know. Where he would be on the hot seat in
immediately. He'd be on the hot seat in 6 days. Okay. Yes. What if Brad Brownell was the guy who stood up and said, you guys think you could just fire coaches all the time at Indiana? Yeah. Is that what you think you do? Well, here I come. Baby, I live on the hot seat.
Phenomenal. It'd be amazing.
I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in this chair. Let's go. The hot seat fan base gets the all-time greatest hot seat coach.
Yep.
Let's put them in a cage and see who comes out.
I love it. Yes.
In real time, I've just decided exactly what I want. I want Brad Brownell to be the next head coach at Indiana. The fan base that fires every coach against the coach that cannot get fired.
Just please. Yes. Love it.
Do you want to stay on Brad Brownell or hit and get West Virginia's Darren DeVries?
I'll stay.
I think Indiana might have reached out to DeVries' camp. I don't see that happening whatsoever.
Do you want to stay with Brad Brownell or hit and get Drake's Ben McCollum?
I suggest you hit, sir.
That's a hit. And I would say, as of this morning, I would say Ben McCollum is perceived as the most likely candidate to be the next head coach of Indiana. I'm not saying he will be. I'm not even saying he's the front runner this morning. I'm saying around college basketball, when people are scanning the names, trying to figure out what's going on here. Okay, some of the bigger candidates are not in. McCollum would be he would have the best odds right now. We'll see what happens there. He coaches at Drake. He's in Iowa. A lot of folks are waiting to see if Iowa indeed does open here in the next couple of days. Would he prefer a place like that over Indiana? Would he not? But yeah, I'd say McCollum's the most likely name of the five you've given me.
As somebody who has been setting up Stay or Hit segments presented by Chumba Casino for weeks now, there's a reason I present things in a certain order. And there's a reason I presented things in that order. That's called building to the climax of Stay or Hit presented by Chumba Casino. This ain't my first Stay or Hit segment presented by Chumba Casino. I've been planning Stay or Hit segments for weeks now, and I think I just proved once again I know how to do it. That was the Stay or Hit segment brought to you by Chumba Casino. Ready to dive into some excitement? Chumba Casino is where it's at. It's free to play, so just jump right in and explore over hundreds of social casino-style games with fresh new releases every week. Play anytime, anywhere, and enjoy free daily login bonuses and an amazing welcome offer. Hey, in addition to Gonzaga, 3 other teams also punch tickets on Tuesday. Let's celebrate each of them. Can we start in the CAA? Final score, UNC Wilmington 76, Delaware 72. CAA final. Fun game, CBS Sports Network. Donovan Newby, he's the name to know. 17 points, 4 assists in 34 minutes. Buried a jumper with 34 seconds left to make it a 2-point game, a 4-point game. And then with 6 seconds left, stepped up to the free throw line, made a couple of free throws, made a 1-possession game, a 2-possession game. That was basically it. Great stuff from him. Norlander, tell me how happy you are to see Takeo Siddle, UNC Wilmington's 38-year-old head coach, in the NCAA tournament. That was a sweet scene last night.
Yeah, that was a good scene. I was watching on my computer because I was at a game we'll get to in just a second here. But yeah, quality game on CBSSN, no doubt about it. Love to see that CAA title game, or it's given us some good ones over the years. And Seahawks in the tourney, I'll take it every single time. Really, really like it. Siddle is a coach on the rise, and certainly a name that is being talked about for some potential openings here that'll come about over the next 1 or 2 weeks. So good on him. He gets to have good problems. He knows that's floating out there while preparing his team now to go into the NCAA tournament. Cool stuff. I saw Mike Bray made the trip to watch Martin Inglesby, his former assistant. Delaware gave him a great fight. 12 seed had never been in the CAA title game before. They got real close, but the Seahawks move on. And I actually haven't looked at the resume overall. My blind guess is Seahawks are probably like a 15 seed.
I love those moments. As a family, we sit down and watch this last night. And, my wife was like, my wife doesn't get caught up in a college basketball game too often, but she was like, oh, look, they're crying. Oh, look, and then she was like, oh, look at the coach. Wow, he's got a great smile. Look how beautiful his teeth are. She loves Takeo Siddle's teeth.
Okay.
That was the first thing she noticed. Amazing smile. So just good stuff, just those scenes. And I love that on CBS Sports Network, we carried the trophy presentation live. I've been there for that trophy presentation. It's just, that means so much to those people. I'm glad we carried it. It was nice to watch. And then for Takeo, just again, incredible scene. Kevin Keats was there. That's his old coach. That's his old boss. Played for him at Hargrave, worked for him there for a year, worked for him at Wilmington, worked for him at NC State. Then you get the Wilmington job. And then that guy is there to watch you punch your ticket to the NCAA tournament for the first time. And just to highlight what it is you talked about, a coach on the rise. He's now finished top 3 in the CAA in each of the past 4 seasons, won at least 21 games, 4 straight years, 54-19 in the CAA past 4 seasons. Just based on nothing more than those numbers, this is a guy who should be on bigger jobs radars. Move on. Final score. You were there. St. Francis, PA 46. Central Connecticut, your longtime rival, 43. This was in the Northeast final. 46-43?
I know.
What was that about? Why'd they do that?
The St. Mary's and Gonzaga was rough last night. These two teams also they were tossing up bricks, but whatever, man. It was small conference tournament basketball, and no lead was ever bigger than 4 in this game. And not bigger than 4. St. Francis won despite shooting 32% from the field, 5 of 26 from 3. Central Connecticut State was 3 of 17 from the field. Building was packed. One point I was told the fire marshal said, I think I can get 50 or 100 more, and then that's going to have to be it. I drove up, I park, walk in. Streams of students are getting ready to go into the gym. Just come on, man. This is great. It was really, really cool. The St. Francis mascot is absolutely terrifying. I posted it on Blue Sky on Twitter last night. I think it might be more horrifying than the Providence Friar, and I mean that. So do a Google search, but prepare yourself. And yeah, Central Connecticut State went into the game 25-6, by far the best team in the NAC. And we get this every year, man. We get the top seeded team in the mid-major league. It's just dominated across the conference. It was 16-2 against league opponents going into last night. And St. Francis was a sub-500 team. And St. Francis won it. It was, Dave Markelly's the guy who hit the runner with about 6 seconds to go, 4 seconds to go. That coming after the Blue Devils, the other Blue Devils, Joe Ostrowski hit a layup, and Building was just on tenor hooks. And then, there was a foul, and it got to 46-43, and actually CCSU had a chance to tie it from half court, and the shot almost went in. I loved being there, GP. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I love being there almost as much as I love being at the Garden because it is such an intense, small gym environment. St. Francis had a great in the corner. They probably brought between pep band, friends, family. I'm going to say they had 250 people in a gym that was probably, it might have been more than, it might have been like 300 people. And that gym holds about 3,200. Let's call it. We're like 3,300 in there last night. I wrote a story. We'll link it in the podcast description. Rob Krimmel has an incredible deal. But before I play his audio, Nada, if we can, I posted this quick little celebration of the team last night. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see they slammed the sticker. They slammed the sticker on the court afterward. And then one of their role players just, I don't know if the audio is going to come in too great here, but it's just, I can
tell you, I know it's not going to come in too great. I do know.
The guy holding the trophy there is he's a guy who comes off the bench, and he his name is, I think he said his name was Whistler or Weisler. We talked to him afterward, and he's the one holding the trophy. We're going to March Madness, baby. We're going to March Madness. Team is 16 and 17. It's from Loretto, Pennsylvania. Population less than 2,000. I talked to Rob Krimmel afterward. Give a little more here after this, but Nada, fire up this audio. This is about a minute long. What you can kind of hear it, but you can't see it. Guy is essentially crying through this entire specific quote, and it was the first time that he kind of. I talked to him probably 25 minutes after the game ended. Let him celebrate with everyone and do all that, and then I went up and we had a chat there. Nada, let's go ahead and play this.
I don't know that, my circumstances like anything else across the country, but I could tell you that St. Francis has allowed me to grow up as a player, as a young professional, as a father, as a husband. I grew up in State College, so my first impression of the place, I didn't like it. I thought college was Beaver Stadium, 100,000 people, big campus. Both my parents worked there. I grew up going to football games, basketball games, and my first trip up there, I told my dad, I'm not going to a school like that. 6 months later, I committed and I haven't left since. So, I think the thing that's kept me there so long is, the people are special. And I believe the college experience is a 4-year experience, but it's about developing people. And that's at the heart of what St. Francis is. Our slogan has become that someone.
In 1996. So in 1995, his brother played for Penn State. They live in State College. He wants to go and be a Nittany Lion. He's not good enough. He gets recruited by St. Francis, has no interest, reluctantly takes a visit, doesn't like it, tells his dad, I don't want to go there. You just heard it. Shows up, and he never leaves. Played there from 96 to 2000, immediately graduates, joins the coaching staff, was an assistant for a dozen years. He got the job in 2012, and he's been the head coach since. He just guided his alma mater. He's 47 years old. He has spent more than half of his life in the tiny town of Loretto, Pennsylvania, which most people doesn't even know exists. But he's been there and built something. And on Tuesday night, after winning 3 games by 3 points total, they beat Long Island over the weekend. They stayed in the Northeast. They drove up to Connecticut. They get it done against a team that had beat them by a combined 31 points. They go on the road. They do it. This team has zero in NIL. And he talked about that as well. He's not anti-NIL, but he had immense pride because he said everyone that did this truly wanted to be here or had to be here and did it for the right reasons. They don't have NIL at St. Francis University. The Red Flash, which is one of the elite college monikers in the entire sport, this is like, I understand they're going to go to Dayton. They're going to play another 16 seed. I get it. It was a phenomenal scene. Just like I was there getting a couple pictures afterward, GP, and it was me and some other, like some photographers and some other media. And then I kind of look around and I'm like, man, there's a lot of people here. It wasn't other media. It was their moms and dads on the court taking pictures of their sons holding the trophy, moms holding the trophy afterward. Like the best, the absolute best. I don't care. St. Francis isn't that good of a team. They were a great team when they needed to be. They found a way to win. Rob Krimmel, great on you, man. That is an incredible story. I appreciate his honesty. He wanted nothing to do with that university as a 17-year-old, and now 30 years later, he can't imagine his life anywhere else than what he's built there. Awesome stuff.
Make it a movie. Make it a movie, and I'll watch it. Love everything about it. And I don't mean this as a criticism, because I'm a complainer as well. Like, my life is pretty awesome, but I get agitated about something every day. So I get it. But like, take that audio and send it to every multimillionaire coach you ever hear complain about anything, and just go, man, listen how happy this guy is. This guy ain't got nothing that you got. He ain't making anything close to what you're making. He doesn't have any of the advantages you have. And his whole life is, man, he doesn't sound like, and let me be clear, he might someday. I don't ever want to, when he leaves, then it doesn't mean any of this. If he leaves, it doesn't mean any of this means anything less. It's just, that's just sort of the nature of how careers work. But I could listen to that all day. I think everybody should listen to that all day. That's a man finding the great stuff in life. And we, let me include myself in this, we could all learn something from that.
Yeah, before we move on, just one more note that I end the story with. As he's talking to me and he's watching his players, like as I'm interviewing him, like he's talking to me and he's looking at his guys climb on the net, and they're all taking turns clipping the net, and that's what he just was taking it all in. It was actually amazing to see a coach, like, it was really hitting him. And as you can tell, actually, I had to edit that because there was about another 6 seconds of, he was just like, he was composing himself, and I didn't want to have too much of that in the audio. But as he's talking to me, his son, who's of teenage years, was, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 feet. I didn't know it was somebody who was standing right there. And he went from being a guy that did not want to go to St. Francis University to eventually naming one of his children after the St. Francis player who hosted him on his visit. First name is Tom Fox back in the day. His son's name is Thomas. Really, really cool, really great stuff. There was one more awesome result there on Tuesday night. Andy Toole, another cool story, got the job at RMU when he was in his late 20s, considered a fast rising coach, and he is stuck there for 15 years. And I don't mean like he's been stuck there, although on some level maybe that is true. He has stuck it out there and gotten the Colonials to the tournament by winning the Horizon League championship over Youngstown State. That was also incredible. Really happy for Andy. Really good dude. You and I saw him, actually. We bumped into him at Frog Hollow last summer on the recruiting trail while we were at Peach Jam, and got to catch up with him a little bit as well. So that's amazing as well. I don't care if it gets tried. These never get old, and it was awesome to see him be rewarded with that, because he had a team that would have gone to the tournament in 2020. Like, they literally won the tournament in 2020, their league tournament, before switching leagues. They didn't get to play in it, so he finally gets to experience that for the second time. Great stuff.
You said Andy Toole. I know Andy as Andy Toole. If you Google everywhere, it's Andrew. Is that new, or is that what? I don't know. Actually, to be honest, I've always called him Andy. So I don't. Me too. I just was Googling last night, looking up some stuff, and it was like Andrew everywhere. I was like, did we just decide to call him Andy? Because it is officially listed as Andrew everywhere. We're going to have to figure that out. All right. I can be done with a text message. This is year 15 at Robert Morris, outright Horizon champ, Horizon League tournament champ. Famously, I think this is probably beat John Calipari's Kentucky Wildcats in the NIT back in 2013, made the NCAA tournament 2 seasons later. Didn't make it again until Tuesday night, but back in it now. Wonderful story. It's just I know today's going to be awesome and tomorrow's going to be awesome. Last night was kind of one of those nights where you just sit around and you could watch one bid leagues get on a stage that they aren't normally on and that we don't typically look at. And I love that. That Tuesday night, last night of this week is always a fun night for me, because you can't watch Duke, you can't watch Kentucky. They ain't playing right now. This is, if you want to watch college basketball, this is what's on. Yep. I love that they get the attention.
And we got more tonight. We got more tonight, GP.
Right. Yeah. I love the stages that these tournament championship games find themselves on. Congrats to Robert Morris. Let's, before we get out of here, look ahead to some notable Wednesday games. First, though, let's get one more word from our partner.
One of golf's elite courses, Quail Hollow, hosts the game's top players at the PGA Championship this May on CBS.
All right, before we get to the one bid stuff, there is some interesting bubble stuff today. You tell me, if these teams need to win or else Adam Zucker's got bad news for you on Selection Sunday. 1:00 Eastern today, Arkansas against South Carolina. Razorbacks got to win or Adam Zucker ruins their lives.
I actually think so. Okay, so if Arkansas loses, it will be a second L to South Carolina, and it will drop to, let me double check this. I think it's 8-13 in Q1 and Q2. 8-13. I'm not going to say it's definitely out. I think it is the ultimate sweat team if it loses to South Carolina. Don't do it. And we talked about this on Sunday, so we don't need to rehash it. I know we're on a time crunch here. That would genuinely be awful for John Calipari. I think Arkansas will win. If it loses, I could still see it maybe getting in the field, but it is sweat city for 5 straight days.
Yeah, and this is a man that has had to endure the St. Peter's thing, the Jack Golke thing. This wouldn't be that exactly, but it'd feel similar. It feels similar. Like, oh, what? Just like we got ourselves in a good position, and then this. 1:00 Eastern, big game. 2:30 Eastern, North Carolina against Notre Dame. Do the Tar Heels have to win, or Adam Zucker ruins their lives?
Yeah, this doesn't even get it done. You got to win this. Don't even find yourself caught in a 1-possession game with 2 minutes to go. You got to win it. You got 2 more after this. They got to win.
3:30 Eastern, Texas Vanderbilt. Texas need to win this, or else Adam Zucker ruins their lives on Selection Sunday.
Yeah, if you listen to the Sunday show, I told you that Palm on HQ overnight show Saturday. Texas is dead. Those were his exact words. Actually, his exact intonation was, Hakeem Dermish just set up the question, and he goes, yeah, Texas is dead. All right, so yes, Texas needs to win. Vandy is a lock. Texas not only needs to win this game, it's like North Carolina. It needs a minimum of 2-3 wins to have a case there. So, yeah, got to get that done. That's 3:30 Eastern today. Bubble City here on Wednesday.
6:00 Eastern, Ohio State, Iowa. Do the Buckeyes need to win to prevent Adam Zucker from ruining their lives on Selection Sunday?
I don't think it's debatable. I think an Ohio State loss 100% sends them out of the tournament. They're 9-14 in Q1 and Q2, which is even worse than Arkansas. Their resume average is 49, which is even worse than Arkansas. You cannot lose this game. It is a must-win and may well need to get another win after this.
9:30 Eastern, Oklahoma, Georgia. Do the Sooners need to win, or else Adam Zucker ruins their lives on Selection Sunday?
Georgia is, of course, a lock. Oklahoma losing would certainly make it spicy. If they lost, they'd be 10-12 in Q1 and Q2. But unlike some of the other teams we just mentioned, Oklahoma also has a quad 3 loss. It's 47 in the net. Its resume average right now is 41. A loss would probably drag that down to 42, 43, 44, maybe. I want to say Oklahoma's safe, but I wouldn't be so sure. I think Arkansas is in a worse spot with a loss. And if both Oklahoma and Arkansas lose, I still think Oklahoma would be ahead of the pecking order. If Oklahoma were to lose, it's a sweat situation. I would highly advise winning and erasing all doubt.
I would also advise winning. In fact, that's almost always my advice. Yeah. I believe we have 3 more one-bid conference tournament championship games today. Southland tournament title game.
You missed a game, GP. There's one more. Sorry? You missed one more game.
If you want to say it, you can say it now.
K-State Baylor. Bears, don't lose it. Don't lose to K-State. That is a better win the game, because right now they could be going to Dayton. So that's another one that's at 7 Eastern. That is an ESPN Plus game nonetheless, but that's another bubble game to keep an eye out on.
The road to joy. The road to joy
goes through Dayton.
There is nothing in this. There's nothing in this about not making the NCAA tournament. All right, that is not on the road to joy.
Really? Not even in one chapter does he talk about not making the NCAA tournament in the early years?
I don't think you can even start the road to joy without missing the NCAA tournament. So I correct myself, but you get the point. The road to joy does not include a loss to Kansas State. All right.
By the way, that's Jerome Tang, Scott Drew.
Yeah.
Colleagues for 2 decades going against each other.
Yeah. All right. Southland tournament title game, 5:00 Eastern. Patriot League tournament title game, 7:00 Eastern. Big Sky tournament title game, 11:30 Eastern. Real quick, just on the Patriot League tournament title game, Navy and American. Mm-hmm. Navy is Division I's shortest team, according to KenPom. Average height, 74.3 inches.
You know who GP's rooting for?
That's it. I'm a midshipman at my. I know I identify as Boilermaker, 46%, but I feel at least
that's dropping by the day. Forget about that.
I'm going to look up one day, and I'm not going to be Boilermaker anymore. I know it's going to happen to me. I've seen it happen to other people. I know how this works. I've seen it happen to other people. I'm starting to identify a little bit as a midshipman. Shortest team in college basketball, led by Austin Benini, 5'10" little guard. Goofy story. Few years ago, remember when I was battling obstructive sleep apnea?
Yeah, you've told this on the pod. You can tell it again, but you've shared this story on the show before.
I busted my head up, and then I was on the sideline for Veterans Classic, and I was just sitting in the restaurant at the hotel, all sad and stitched up. And I think I had like a CBS hat on or something. I had something that suggested CBS on, probably just hiding my face. And this nice couple was sitting next to me, and we struck up a conversation. And they're like, "Our son, he's here at Navy now, and we're from Texas." And that's Austin Benini's parents. I didn't have dinner with them one night, but I sat next to him and we talked at dinner, throughout dinner one night. And to see that young man become what he's become, like, you want to look for guys who could pop off for 27 in an NCAA tournament game and go viral. He's that type of player, and he'll be playing for a trip to the NCAA tournament tonight.
He will be. That's CBS Sports Network Patriot League Championship. Navy American, red, white, and blue USA doesn't get more than that. Southland is Lamar at McNeese, which does mean, as of this hour, we technically could maybe have Lamar and Drake in the same bracket. They won't face each other, but we could have Lamar and Drake in even the same quadrant of the bracket. I still have hope.
I know who wins that one. Oh, and I at least know who I'm picking. I know who I can't pick.
McNeese is a powerhouse in the Southland under Will Wade. Almost certainly going to win, favored by 12 points. For the culture, Lamar and Drake both making the NCAA tournament feels like it has to happen, but I don't think it will. Man, oh man, would it be amazing if that could go down. That's 5 Eastern, by the way, ESPN2. And then if you're watching the pod right now, hello, rocking it right here, baby. Starch Madness, Big Sky, 11:30 Eastern tonight, ESPN2. Montana versus Northern Colorado. Montana, the Grizzlies, coached by Travis DeCure, last made the NCAA tournament in 2019. Northern Colorado, most famous for being the school that Dalton Connect went to. Has been D1 since 2004, only has one NCAA tournament appearance. That's back in 2011. So Starch Madness, we love it. The Big Sky a couple years ago changed from having its auto bid late Saturday night, caught in the mess of everything that goes on Saturday. I know it's a late tip, but this was a very smart move by Tom Wistersill, the commissioner there. Get your games as an auto bid on the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday of championship week, because although there are some other ones, what GP was just mentioning 6 minutes ago, we're paying attention to these. You're just going to get more attention. You're going to get more publicity by doing this, as opposed to, if you want to wait till Saturday, by all means, but there's a whole crunch of stuff that's going on, and you can kind of a little bit get lost in the shuffle there. So I love the fact that the Big Sky has pivoted appropriately so. And those are your 3 auto bids on the docket, which means, if my math is correct, GP, I think we're at 13 in the tournament by the end of Wednesday night.
Oh, we'll let Jerry Palm keep track of that. That's his job. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle, legend, Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. More of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So do that, and we will talk to you again real soon. Till then, take care.